Hello and welcome to my channel. In today's video, I have two spring-inspired decoupage projects. One is using these butterfly wood forms that I found in a craft store, and I created a little spring garland out of them. The second I created using this jelly jar. And this one, I personally, if I keep it, I will use it as a votive candle holder, but you could use it for other things. I created both projects using these pretty floral napkins I found on Etsy. For the butterfly garland, I began by just painting both sides of these butterflies, there's 8 in total, with just white acrylic paint. To start, I took the back plies off the front of my napkin. And then for this project, what I did was I used a little bit of water and a thin paintbrush, and I went around the butterfly form to try to get the napkin close to the same shape. I did this because the butterfly had a lot of curves and little angles to it, and I just felt it made the whole process a little bit easier. Once I had my napkin close to the shape of the butterfly, I used decoupage glue and just put a thin coat onto the front of my butterfly form. And when I glue my napkin down onto it, I like to use a piece of saran wrap to smooth out the wrinkles. That way the napkin doesn't stick to my fingers. It also helps to prevent the napkin from tearing. Once all applied and smooth, I put another layer of glue all over the front of the napkin and let that dry or I bake it. If you want details on how I bake something to set the glue quicker and help get rid of some of those wrinkles, I will leave that in the description box. For a couple of my butterflies, I attempted to use this water method to apply my napkins. I did an okay job with it, I think, but I found it a little bit harder, and I don't know if it's because these napkins were extremely thin or if I'm just not that good at it actually. But you begin by turning your napkin over good side down and applying some water. Use a file folder sheet, is how I've always seen it done, and you take a really light hand and spread all that water all over your napkin till it's really soaked in nicely. Once that is finished, you get rid of all the extra water, and I should say you've already applied your glue to your butterfly or whatever form you're working with. Once you pour off that water, you tap off all the excess and you put the napkin down on whatever you're applying it to. Then you give it a good rub and try to smooth out any bubbles that could be there, and it helps adhere it down to your piece. I have to be very careful lifting this file folder sheet off because it will drag your napkin up with it. So I just used my paintbrush and kind of helped hold the napkin in place when I removed it. The one nice thing is you really don't get any wrinkles using this method, and the excess napkin comes off very easily. So you see it kind of pulls right off the edges like that. Once all the excess napkin was removed from the edges, I then applied another nice layer of decoupage glue all over the napkin. Again, you can let this dry or you can bake it. I line my baking sheets with parchment paper and I put the butterflies on to bake. Honestly, whatever I decoupage that I can fit into the oven, I do use this method because I really think it helps with some of the wrinkling that can occur. So my second project is the jelly jar. Again, I began by removing the back plies of the napkin, so I just had the front. You only want to be using one layer. I also used the same method as before. I used a thin paintbrush and some water, and this time I just tore out a bunch of different little shapes. I made sure there was no straight edges and just made everything different. I'm going to piece them together onto my jar just like a puzzle. Once I had all my pieces that I wanted or that I thought I was going to use, I went right into my glue and started pasting them right onto my jelly jar. I didn't paint this jar first because I wanted them to be translucent. I worked my way around the whole jar and I also covered the bottom. I left the rim free at the top for more decor later on. Once all my pieces were in place, I gave it an entire coat of glue once again, and I let the jar dry. Now the butterflies were back out of the oven, and I went over the edges with a little piece of sandpaper just to smooth everything down. You want to get off any extra pieces that could be hanging off the side. I did the same around the top ridge of my jelly jar to make sure there was no excess paper sticking up. To really set in my glue and give it another protective coating, I used this matte varnish all over the front of my butterflies. I wanted some color around the edges of my butterflies, and I didn't want them all to look the same, so I took a little foam pad or a little foam brush, and I used dark purple on 4 of the butterflies, and I just tapped around the edges so you could see the color when you were looking straight on at the piece. And then on the other 4, I used like a leaf green color to delineate the edges. I liked the contrast of those 2 colors. They just both say spring to me. Now the butterflies I edged in purple. I took that same color around the back and put 2 coats of the purple paint on the back, and these are just acrylic paints. And I did the same with the green. I took the green color over the back and I applied 2 coats. I used triple thick on the front and the back of each butterfly. I also used it on the jelly jar. I wanted each project to have a little bit of gloss to it. Just be careful when applying triple thick. You don't want to brush it too much. You want to get a nice even coat, but you don't want to keep working it because it gets tacky very quickly. I left the butterflies in the jelly jar to dry overnight with a triple thick on them. To finish up my jar, I had a bag of ribbon, so I picked out a light green ribbon to put around the top. I thought the contrast to the purples and the pinks was nice. And I just applied it with hot glue. On top of the ribbon, I decided I wanted to put some nice faux white pearls on there. My pearls didn't reach all the way around, so in the space that was left, I put a bow I created with the ribbon. Before stringing my butterflies, I decided to add one little extra touch using some liquid pearls. I had gold and silver on hand, so I placed some gold dots down the body of the butterflies. On the green butterflies, I used the gold, and then I used my silver on the purple edged butterflies. And that is it for these two projects. The baking instructions will be in the description box. If you like these projects, please leave a like. Thank you so much for watching.